is where we live. They are not going to come from outside of our hemisphere, destabilize our region in our own backyard, and us have to pay the price for it. Not under President Trump.
The Bolivarian National Armed Forces informed the entire world that in the early hours of today, January 3rd, the Venezuelan people have been subjected to the most criminal military aggression by the government of the United States of America. So far, the barbarity of the invading forces that have desecrated our sacred soil in the areas of Fuerte Tiuna, Caracas, and the states of Miranda, Aragua, and La Guaira has reached the point of striking with their missiles and rockets fired from combat helicopters into residential areas populated by civilians. We are currently gathering information regarding the wounded and the dead.
Marco Rubio has warned China, Russia, and Iran to stay out of what he called America's backyard, saying that outside
Chinese officials have issued at least 2 formal warnings since Maduro's capture. One at a public foreign ministry briefing in Beijing, and another during an emergency session of the United Nations Security Council.
According to CBS News, U.S. President Donald Trump ordered strikes on sites inside Venezuela, including military facilities, as Washington sharply intensified its campaign against the government of President Nicolás Maduro. Sources tell CBS News the Trump administration is aware of reports of explosions and aircraft over Caracas. But as of now, there has been no official public comment from the White House. On the ground, the situation appears chaotic. Eyewitness videos and journalist reports describe missile-like strikes, low-flying aircraft, and power outages across parts of the capital. Colombia's President Gustavo Petro issued an urgent warning to the world. He said, "Right now they are bombing Caracas. They are bombing with missiles. The OAS and the UN must meet immediately." The U.S. military has acknowledged reports of explosions in Caracas, but a Pentagon spokesperson refused to confirm or deny any American involvement.
No country can act as the world's police, nor can any country presume to be the international judge. China firmly supports the government and people of Venezuela in safeguarding the country's sovereignty, security, and legitimate rights and interests.
Well, China has deep stakes in Venezuela, from oil to loans to long-standing strategic alignment dating back to Hugo Chavez. Beijing is Venezuela's largest oil buyer, a major investor, and one of its biggest lenders, having extended tens of billions of dollars in oil-backed loans despite US sanctions. Well, given such deep ties with Venezuela, China has demanded Maduro's immediate release, criticizing what it says is America's violation of international law. But beyond sharp words, what does China's
French President Emmanuel Macron delivered a forceful message to French ambassadors in Paris on Thursday, stressing that France rejects what he described as new colonialism and neo-colonial aggression by major powers, even as the global geopolitical landscape shifts. Macron said the United States remains an established world power, but warned that it is gradually turning away from some of its allies and distancing itself from international rules it once championed in areas such as trade, security, and multilateral forums. His comments reflect broader tensions between Paris and Washington, particularly in the context of ongoing disagreements over security commitments and shifting alliances under U.S. leadership. The Guardian. Turning to China, Macron said Beijing is a rising power that must pursue diversified partnerships, but has exhibited uninhibited commercial aggressiveness, especially in the post-COVID era, and that this trend is placing strain on the European economy. He used the occasion to defend France's independent diplomatic posture, saying Paris rejects both new colonialism and subordination and defeatism, and instead seeks to be a strong and reliable partner able to uphold international law, advance strategic interests worldwide, and support French businesses abroad. The Guardian. Macron's address at the Élysée Palace comes amid heightened global tensions, including trade frictions between the EU and the United States, and debates over alliances and strategic autonomy in Europe. His remarks signal a push for France and its European partners to assert their interests more boldly, resist external pressures that could erode sovereignty, and commit to enduring diplomatic engagement in a world of great power competition.
US Secretary of State Marco Rubio has warned China, Russia, and Iran to stay out of what he called America's backyard, saying that outside powers will not be allowed to destabilize the region under President Trump.
Why does China need Venezuelan oil? Why does Russia need their oil? Why does Iran need their oil? They are not even in this continent. This is the Western Hemisphere. This is where we live. They are not going to come from outside of our hemisphere, destabilize our region in our own backyard, and us have to pay the price for it. Not under President Trump.
Well, Rubio's warning to China echoes a core pillar of U.S. foreign policy, the Monroe Doctrine. That's the idea that the Western Hemisphere is off-limits to outside powers, with its shaped U.S. approach to Latin America for about 2 centuries. And by framing Venezuela as America's backyard, Rubio signaled that Maduro's capture is being justified not just as a security move, but as a defense of U.S. spheres of influence. So where does this leave China and Russia, caught between strong rhetoric and limited options? And what does this confrontation mean for the global balance of power?
Accelerating. Russia reacted swiftly and forcefully. In a rare early morning statement, Moscow accused the United States of committing an act of armed aggression against Venezuela, condemning the strike and warning that escalation could spiral beyond control. The Russian Foreign Ministry rejected Washington's justification outright, calling it untenable. Moscow said ideological hostility had overtaken diplomacy and that trust, predictability, and pragmatism had been abandoned in favor of force. Russia urged all sides to step back. Dialogue, it said, must replace military pressure. Moscow reaffirmed its position that disputes, no matter how severe, must be resolved through negotiation, not bombardment. The message was pointed. Latin America must remain a zone of peace. Venezuela, Russia said, has the right to determine its own future, free from external military interference. Moscow declared its solidarity with the Venezuelan people and voiced support for the country's Bolivarian leadership, framing the crisis as a test of sovereignty, not just for Venezuela, but for international order. Russia also backed calls from Caracas and regional leaders for an emergency session of the UN Security Council, signaling that this confrontation is now headed for the world's highest diplomatic arena. Even as statements flew, uncertainty deepened on the ground. Venezuela's vice president admitted the government did not know the whereabouts of President Nicolas Maduro or the First Lady. That admission came hours after President Donald Trump claimed U.S. forces had carried out a large-scale strike and that Maduro and his wife had been captured and removed from the country. Venezuela's defense minister moved quickly. Vladimir Padrino ordered a full deployment of the armed forces, confirming attacks on multiple sites and calling on troops to stand firm and carry out presidential orders. Russia's embassy in Caracas says it remains operational, in constant contact with Venezuelan authorities and Russian citizens. Moscow reports no casualties among Russian nationals, for now. But the warning stands. From Moscow's view, this is no isolated strike. It is a dangerous precedent, one that risks dragging the region and the world into deeper confrontation.